All right, welcome back to the Ottawa studios of Inside My Canoe Ed. I am your host, Dr. D. Today, we are going to talk about small, medium enterprises, small, medium businesses. You, the solo entrepreneur with some kind of online side hustle or just life in general. How do we understand risk and how do we manage risk in today's chaotic world? So sit back, grab yourself your favorite beverage. Let's get at her. All right, welcome back this week. And listen, thanks again for all the feedback that we've been getting on our episodes. Some of them good, some of them bad. But again, like we've said many times with this podcast, if I'm going to put my name and my face out there into the world, I'm going to find some people who disagree with me. In fact, I actually enjoy people who disagree with me. And I'm doing a much better job of letting it not get under my skin when people say things that are inappropriate. I could care less. I spent 28 years in the Army. There are no names that you could call me that I have not already heard, and most of them actually probably been accurate. The question, though, that always rises some type of an emotional response is me when somebody challenges the legitimacy of the things that I'm saying. Our moniker here at Preparedness Labs Incorporated, the website is preparednesslabs.ca. Our moniker is non-apocalyptic, evidence-based risk, resilience, and preparedness education, right? Evidence-based means what I tell you here is grounded in research that either I've personally done and can verify, or peer-reviewed public research, or other research that's presented in a similar forum to this from reputable sources. And what do I mean about reputable sources? Reputable sources are people who are not ideologically grounded in a position. Those are individuals who have a passion for a subject or have extensive experience in an area, and they tell you like it is. They're not interested in persuading you that their position is correct. What they're interested in doing is discussing the reality of the situation, doing the best we can to extract the politics, extract the ideological lens, and have an actual conversation and discussion about it. That's what we hope to do today when we talk about small, medium business, when we talk about risk, resilience, and preparedness, and we talk about what you can do as a small business owner. Now, this could be you in your household. This could be you with your $500 a year Etsy store where you do something simple on the side and it's kind of fun. This is for everybody who plays in the online space but may not completely understand or have any idea as to what threat, risk, and that type of thing exists. It's also true that there is a big industry on risk consultants. I'm actually one of them. We provide services to small and medium enterprises. Our price point starts at $5,000 for a risk assessment. When you look at most, and I say that out loud because we don't try to hide it from the world, right? If you're a small, medium enterprise, less than $1 million a year, we provide risk assessments for $5,000 a year and up. And that's perfectly normal, right? But what if you're a small, medium business? If you're just a solo entrepreneur, it's just you, right? Every time things go well or things go really bad, you look around the room and you're the only one there, right? You are simply the only one that is available to respond to any of the things that happen. Crisis or benefit, whatever, spike in orders or crash in orders, whatever it may be. It's just you. You don't have time to hire a crisis consultant who's going to come in and give you this nice bookmark plan. It's going to give you all the things you should do, spreadsheets of checklists, which is utterly useless for the most part. To somebody who's simply trying to run an online business to generate, $50,000 or less, paying me $5,000, $8,000, $10,000, depending on the complexity of your business, to do some type of risk assessment is probably not a smart idea. And I'll be honest with you, which is why we started our program at Preparedness Labs Incorporated. If you go over to the website there, it's $83 Canadian a month. And basically it's a risk webinar series. But the point is that this podcast here, we're going to give you the structure of risk and risk as we understand it, and how to move forward as an individual understanding that risk and try an entrepreneurial venture. Or if you're a small, medium business owner, whether you own a print shop or a small auto body repair, or you owe a franchise of a corner store, or you're the only corner store in a small town, or you have whatever it may be, you exist in a risk-rich environment and you are exposed to risks that you might not fully be aware of. And that's what we're trying to achieve today. So that's our goal. I hope you're worth it. Let's get at it. So really, we're going to talk about 4 big online risks that exist. And we're going to worry about the online phase. We're not worried about brick and mortar. The vast majority of people have a majority online presence. And just in case you're wondering, the value is 95% of U.S. LLCs or small businesses have a top line revenue, which is your total revenue, of less than $1 million. And 40% of those are less than $250,000 a year. So if you're making 15 grand a year in your small business, you are part of a large family. You're not failing at all. You're part of a large family. And the first thing we want to talk about is cybersecurity. Cybersecurity means if you're going to be in cyberspace, and you're there if you're watching me, that you are exposed to a certain set of risks. We have another program, Preparedness Labs Incorporated, where we talk about CyberStart for seniors, where we offer education and simple ongoing. Every 2 weeks, we send out a 5 or a 10-minute video and videos on demand to seniors to talk about the actual and real risks that exist. But when we talk about cyber risk in general, we think about that you have a defense mechanism and you have nefarious actors. And these are all present in the open commerce area of the internet, right? So if you think about it as an analogy, think about it as a shopping mall. People will come in periodically and try to steal goods and not pay for them from your store. People will tell you really good stories to try to distract you or to try to persuade you to giving them a really good discount. Somebody will sign up and say, hey, I can supply you with this. They'll sign a contract, and then they'll never come through as a supplier. There's huge faults in supply chain management and a lot of nefarious actors out there in the world. If you think about your online presence, think about it as your defense mechanisms are what you choose to do and how you behave. It's best described as your cyber hygiene. What is your activity that you do online, and how do you conduct yourself online? For example, here at Preparedness Labs Incorporated, we have a no-click policy. That means nobody clicks on a link. It doesn't matter who it's from. It doesn't matter who sends it. We, as a corporate policy, we don't click on links. It doesn't matter if it comes from my mother. It doesn't matter if it comes from my brother. It doesn't matter if my wife sends it. I don't click on links. Full stop. So that takes it away. Phishing email campaigns. I don't open attachments on emails unless they go through a scrubber, right? So I use a program called Total AV and a couple of others that scrub attachments. Is it a pain in the butt? It's a slight pain in the butt, but generally I don't open an attachment. I do use shared drives behind firewall encrypted protection. So if I'm working with a project, which I periodically do with a number of different people and not-for-profits and companies around Canada, is I use a shared drive with an encryption on it, which is a high level of security, which means I don't download a copy, right? So I'm working on it. Again, I'm not clicking on links. I'm just working on a copy in a secure space. Now, nothing is perfectly secure on it, and I'll get to cyber insurance in a minute. But that's number one. Number two is we use multi-factor authentication on everything, which means every website that I have to get into, I set up 2MFA, multi-factor authentication. Now, I tend to use the text to my cell phone. And I do that because it's far easier than using authenticator apps. But Microsoft has them, and there are other authenticator apps that you can download, some with paid services in them, that'll allow you to do authentication and verify you are who you say you are. Right? So I use no clicks, multi-factor authentication, and then on a personal note, I only speak to 3 agencies of officialdom, as I call them, right? My bank, the insurance company, and the government of Canada. And you can impose any other government there, it doesn't matter. So when I talk to my insurance company, I know them by name, and I only use the app. They have a secure app. I do all my conversations through there, and my signing of documents are exchanged through the secure app. My bank, and I use the Toronto Dominion Bank, I don't care. I use only their app. So whenever somebody sends me an email saying they're from the TD Bank, I delete the email. When somebody sends me, calls me and says they're from the TD Bank, I'm polite. I'm very kind to them. But I say, hey, I don't trust phone calls from people saying they're from the bank. Send me a secure message in the app. If you can't send me a secure message in the app, you're obviously not from the bank. And the same thing with CRA, Canadian Revenue Agency, or the IRS in America, or Service Canada, or your provincial app. I have a secure portal app for my business, and I have a secure portal app for me into CRA. I don't answer phone calls from Canada Revenue Agency or the government of Canada. I delete emails. And one good thing about the Canadian Revenue Agency is when they send you an email, they don't send you a link to click and log in. They say you've got a secure communication in the portal. Go there on your own, right? It's a great piece of work. I wouldn't even click on the link anyhow. But so the three outside agencies or governance agencies, if you will, that I have to talk to, I only talk to through their secure app. I don't care who you are when you call. I don't care who you are when you email or who you are when you text. You go dans la poubelle, as they say en français, in the garbage can. I don't even touch you. You're gone. Those are just defense mechanisms that you have. Things that keep you safe, right? You have also the ability to provide insurance. Now, cyber insurance can be expensive. Some policies are well into the five figures, $10,000, $15,000 and higher. It all depends on believing whether you think you want to protect your from loss. And just think about it. For example, if somebody was to click a link in your organization, or you were, and you think it's from Stripe. We use Stripe payment, for example. So I get an email thinking it's from Stripe. I click on the link to verify my account, and bam, fish in through the account, in through the Stripe portal, bing, bing, boom, $10,000 is gone from my corporate bank account and I can't get it back. Why? Because I'm the fool who clicked on the link. Nobody owes me the money back. That's the kind of thing that cyber insurance can help against ransomware and things like that. The last line of defense that you have is secure data storage. When you think about secure data storage, think about you would put your important documents that you have in a safe, right? You would put them in a fireproof safe rated up to 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever the NFPA says is a top standard. You'd have it in your house so that when, in the unlikely event your house burned down, your safe with all of your important documents would make it, right? Because not every crisis happens when you're sitting at home and you can grab your documents and go. Even if you had them in a safe space, if you're at the shopping mall and your house burns. So you take that, most people take that step and have your documents well protected. The question then becomes, what do you do on your data? What do you do for your cyber data? Now, for example, I use a Mac machine, I use Time Machine, I use iCloud, and I back that up a second time, right? So for me to lose total access to my data, you would have to get the hard computer itself. You would have to get the hard drive attached to it. You would have to get my iCloud, and then you would have to get my iCloud backup service, which is with another different company. The odds are not zero. Let's be clear. The odds are not zero that happens, but it is pretty small and pretty unlikely. So I take quite a number of steps to back it up. Plus, I keep it simple. And we've talked a lot on this podcast about simplicity, right? There's an industry of people out there that will try to tell you that life is complex. It's all about complexity. Issues are interlaced. I could go on. And I teach some of these courses at university about that. But if you keep it really, really simple, you have a core bit of data That's your data about your bank account and your corporate tax returns and your personal bank accounts and your personal tax returns, your insurance, and very few other information is actually tightly controlled, right? That's the stuff that can cause you damage. That's the stuff that could lead to identity theft. So you secure that to your best possible. For me, what I buy is what's called identity insurance. So I pay 23 something dollars a month Canadian, and I have a program that protects data. It advises me when things are found online that may concrete, but what it also does, or maybe stolen for identity, I get automatic updates when somebody ever tries to use any of my ID. So every time something is, every time the minute there is a message sent to any one of the, I'm lost for words here. Sorry. Anytime any type of credit inquiry hits one of the Equifax or TransUnion here in Canada, and there's several other in the US, but when somebody does a credit check on me on my name, I get an immediate notification. So I know immediately every time a credit check is done against me. I know immediately when somebody does that, because the important part of that is I now know, hey, somebody at Hyundai Financial just hit me up. I'm not buying a Hyundai or a Kia, right? Right away, I know and I can step in. I can contact the organization and say, this just happened, it's not me, and let them deal with it. But what it allows me to do is protect my identity to the greatest extent possible. Something we always have to remember in the conversation about risk is that risk can never be brought to zero. Risk can never be zero, but it can be mitigated, which means you can reduce the probability of something occurring and you can reduce the severity when it does occur. But what you can't do is eliminate something from happening altogether. So when you think about that, that's the frame. Those are the things that you can do in your cyber world to keep you safe. So the next thing we want to face on is when you think about financial risk and operational risk of your business. How complex have you made your payment system? How complex have you made your ability to draw in? So if you're getting money from 7 different sources, if you're selling on 5 different websites, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. Get yourself out as far as you can. The question is, do you understand that process intimately? Do you understand the steps that it has to take? And what are your responsibilities? The key to financial security is understanding not just what your corporation is responsible for, but what you as a director of or owner of that corporation are responsible for doing in time of a crisis or in times of financial theft. So, for example, if somebody was to get a hold of your Apple account and change the password, what exactly is Apple expecting you to do, through what channels, and in what timeline to recover that? Because trust me, you don't want to have to try to figure that out in the minute when somebody's got their hands on your Apple ID and all of the things that are tied to it, right? I use Apple Pay, people use Google Pay. It's all tied in. They're having a heyday and you don't know what to do. If you do nothing else today, figure that out. Exactly what do I have to do? So what does my bank expect me to do when my credit card is compromised? What are my exact responsibilities? What are my responsibilities with Apple? What are my responsibilities with Google? Understand these intimately so you know exactly what you're supposed to do when your identity is compromised, when your credit card is compromised. Just because you think the bank owes you the money back doesn't mean the bank gives you the money back. Right? For example, I had somebody who was using their name on their PIN for their debit card. So somebody stole their debit card and their debit card had their name on it. And you know how the 3 letters per keypad? Well, that's what they were using for the 4 letters of their name, and the 4 letters of the PIN were exactly the same. The bank told them to pound salt, because that's not a protected PIN. Even though the person successfully guessed their PIN, it was based upon the name that was on the card, and they stole the person's money, and the bank said, tough luck, right? Read your agreement. Nobody reads the agreement, right? Everybody just gives up and clicks, I agree, right? Understand exactly what you're covered for, what you're not covered for, and understand exactly what you're expected to do. It's how you stay safe, right? It's just as important as your two-factor authentication with your text, as I use, or your authentication app, not clicking links, not going to websites you don't understand, and reading URLs. That's another one that's really important that we don't hear a lot about. Read the URL. So for example, and this was a real life case that happened in Canada, where somebody Googled Canada Revenue Agency because they wanted to go to CRA and set up an account. So they Googled it, right? Which most people do. And they went to the link that said Canada Revenue Agency and they clicked on it. But it was a fraudulent link in the Google search, right? If you had looked at the link, www.canada1 or Canada with two A's, .ca or .canada.com, there's something in the URL that should have told that individual that this was not a reputable site. And as they were setting up, CRA doesn't ask for your PIN or your passwords for your bank information. Again, these are things that should have been key, but people just don't have enough experience or awareness to know that those are not logical questions in their enrollment. An individual, she thought she was enrolling herself in CRA's online program and creating an online account for her to create that kind of security that we talk about here of just dealing with the government through a secure online portal, and bam, her money's gone because she gave the password and the PIN and everything in her bank account. It's a lesson learned that you can tell if it's the right government or if it's the government program. You can tell if it's the correct address. You just have to take the time and do it. The reason that's challenging for a lot of people is because we've built this hustle culture, right? This culture of everything happens now, click, 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 and we're all done. That's what we're looking for. But in something as important as setting up banking, working on your banking, setting up taxation, or working on your taxation with the government, take your time to verify the URLs. The URL is that address. Starts with World Wide Web or HTTPS. Read it. Does it look right? If it doesn't look right, trust your gut, right? Don't click on it. Find a proper link. That's very, very easy to do. If you take these steps online, you're going to be very safe. You're not going to be completely safe. There's no way to make you 100% safe online unless you want to turn the internet into a police state where somebody controls everything that happens. And then you've got to assume that that somebody has your best interest at heart and will do what's right. You can't make that assumption, right? You can't make that assumption that everybody on the internet is your friend. And you can't make the assumption that the internet would be best done if it was oversight and controlled by these big oligarchical organizations. Your ability to be safe online and to run a small and medium business is all about your understanding of the risks. Then you got to look at your logistical risks, your sales risks, and map out your process. This is something we talk to people a lot in an upcoming course we have in cooperation with the Logistics Institute out of Toronto. We're launching a course this fall on mastering risk for small and medium businesses. And the first exercise of this is going to be to map your business end-to-end process. This is something entrepreneurs don't do, and I didn't do it at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey because you start with this piece, right? Then the entrepreneur adds this piece. Then you add this piece. Then you add this piece. Oh, we're going to go over here now, and we're going to link this. Oh, this new software, we're going to use that. And before you know it, you have a disconnected web of policies, processes, and computer algorithms or programs that really don't work well together. Often what I suggest to small business owners as part of our risk assessment that we do with them is the first thing is you sit down and you write out your business end to end. from your make or buy decision, which is the first part of any logistical operation or any business operation. Am I going to make the product or am I going to buy the product? Right to the disposable and the end of the customer relationship management. The entire process end to end. Every step and every decision and every computer program that's used at every step and every decision. Now, a lot of people say, I'm busy, that don't have the time. This is where it takes time and effort, but not money, to mitigate risk. Once you look at the entire end-to-end process, what you're going to be able to do is realize, hey, this is a lot bigger and meaner and nastier and disconnected than I thought. This makes much more sense over here. This makes sense over here. This guy's still here. I didn't realize we still had to use him. That can go down la poubelle. And you start to see a better integration and a better model. You have to take the time when you're building your small and medium enterprise online to understand that each and every point you touch the internet is a point for risk, is a cybersecurity risk. Every time you interact with a customer through email, it's a risk. Now, yeah, you have to do it and you should do it and do it often. But how do you do that successfully? How do you do that by mitigating risk to the greatest extent possible? So that's a course we're got coming up this fall that we're going to teach everyone how to do to mitigate risk. Again, nothing I will teach, nothing I will provide prevents disaster from coming to your world, but it mitigates it to the greatest extent possible and gives you the tools. Okay, now what do I do that the balloon has gone up? What do I do? So from a small Etsy store owner to somebody sub $1 million, it's worth your time for your online business to sit back and look at everything you do. The last part that I'm going to cover before we wrap up today is reputational risk. Reputational risk is one that can harm you significantly. We talk about the Tylenol scandal here in Canada. We talk about the maple leaf meat scandal. There's a lot, BP oil. There's a lot of big things that happen, right? But I'll talk about one thing at a campground in Nova Scotia, where a lady had finally planned a overnight camping trip with her young family and had it all booked. But when she got there, she didn't realize she had to have a credit card. She didn't have a credit card, so she found somebody who had a credit card. And the young person working behind the counter said, it's our policy. The credit card name must be the name as the person on the site. So she found her ex-husband who came with still using the same last name. That wasn't good enough. In the end, they had to turn away and didn't have their weekend at the park. This hit social media. Hundreds of people inundated this park owner, lambasting her for how dare she take away this wonderful weekend for this family that just wanted to enjoy it. People were going to secure with credit cards. It was a total misunderstanding. The campground is owned by a wonderful person whose heart was broken that this happened to one of her potential customers. She made it up. She did what she could. But her reputation was pounded for months online simply because of one decision an employee made by following the exact process and procedure that the owner had laid out for somebody. Imagine that. Somebody did what you told them to do, and it ended up pounding the reputation. Reputation management is a really difficult thing to do. I'm not an expert in crisis communication, but Shauna Bruce, who is an expert in crisis communication, has Bruce Associates. If you're ever looking for crisis communication work, she is the absolute best that we have in this country. The point is you have to be honest, you have to be truthful, and you have to be quick. Tell people what you know and what you don't know. Tell people in an honest and forthright manner, and address it. The comment section on social media is a horrible, difficult place to be. I do my best when I get crazy comments or people calling out my reputation or calling me a fraud or things like that. I try to understand why they're doing this. I try to understand what it is that I'm doing that's causing such a disturbance in their life that they need to put this forward. And most of them are happy to engage once. But once the people who engage realize that they're not getting the angry answer the fight that they were looking for, but they're getting an intelligent response asking them about their query and what is it that they don't understand, they usually go away, right? I had one individual write the word fraud or red flag on my senior cybersecurity program. And so I didn't understand this. It was on a Facebook ad. So I went to his Facebook profile, and his entire list of postings was this is what he did professionally. He was a professional person who went out and spent his entire day going on Facebook ads and claiming them to be false and nefarious or bad interest or evil or whatever. This is what he did. Now, I don't ascertain or know this individual's emotional or medical problems that led to this. I don't know his life that led to this. But the reality is the comment section is a crazy place. If you're not willing to be called every name in the book, then I'm sorry, but we don't have a space where everybody is polite. Should they be polite? Sure. But should, coulda, woulda. We could go on forever. How you deal with that is going to be 100% up to you. The risk management of reputation risk is when somebody calls you out or somebody says something and you go after them. There's nothing to destroy your reputation faster than you attacking somebody in your brand's name. The other side of it is I get a lot of posts on some of my a lot of comments on my social media feeds about current political issues. Be it Israel and Palestine, Trump and the Democrats, Russia and Ukraine. Use your platform for do this. Why won't you do this? The fact that I choose to not bring politics in, irrespective of my personal beliefs, into what I do is my choice. I don't answer those. I don't like them. I don't comment on them. They just sit there. They sit there because there's nothing to be won by trying to debate or negotiate with somebody who holds an ideologically grounded position about the world around them that in reality they probably don't understand. They've seen a script or they've read a script somewhere to tell them that they're supposed to be irate and angry about something, and then they choose to be. There's no benefit in that, right? It's like trying to persuade somebody that their political affiliation is wrong, right? Good luck with that. Heartache and pain is all that brings you. Most of the time when somebody says something bad, I usually say thank you for your support, right? Because the hilarious part of what our algorithms work, every time somebody comments on a post, it kicks the post out again. So I went back and forth with this one gentleman early on in my social media career for a period of time. And I finally said, thank you very much for the debate, whatever. And he was angry. And I said, and thanks for your support. And he said, I don't support you. I said, yes, you did. Because every time you answered and we went back and forth on this social media post, I got traffic. You kicked my ad out to more people. You helped me make money by getting into an angry conversation with me. And for that, I was very thankful. He did not like that, but he didn't answer because he realized if he answered and told me I was full of you-know-what, he was going to be helping me get more exposure. It's the funny downside, or the funny upside, shall we say, of social media comments. So to wrap up what we talked about today for risk management for small and medium enterprises, cybersecurity is a defensive operation. It simply means understand the handful of things that you can do to get yourself 90% of the way. Simplify your processes so they're easy to understand. Map out your business end to end so you see every single process and every single touch point that could be a problem. Map out your data. Where is your data? What systems do you use to support? Are they up to date? Making sure the latest versions of everything and the automatic updates are applied all of the time. Then identity insurance, the same thing with your identity. Communicate with the key players in the world only through their apps. It's a really strange ideology to some, but methodology to some. But think about it. using the internet to its greatest potential is your greatest defense, right? Go to encrypted apps and only use encrypted apps because that protects you the greatest. Staying away from the benefits of the internet by staying back is likely not to lead to a better post-event outcome. And lastly, your reputation. What you say online matters. So if you're over here on Facebook on your personal page and you're slamming the prime minister or the president, okay, and over here you have a Facebook page or you have a business that's tied to you, when you're speaking individually as a human, you're speaking on behalf of your business. There is absolutely no separation between you and your business online. You may want it to be, but it doesn't exist. So every position you take online as an individual is a position your company takes, whether or not you say publicly it doesn't. They are one and the same. You can't separate them, right? Think of astronomer CEOs, how far you got to go. So thanks again for joining us this week on Inside My Canoe Head. Drop over to our website, insidemycanoehead.ca. We have over 360 episodes of this podcast going back over 5 years, talking about risk, resilience, and preparedness. Drop over to our corporate website, preparednesslabs.ca. If you go up and you hit catalog, there's a number of free items we have up there. We have a 4-step to preparedness guide, downloadable free of charge. We have 3 issues, and soon to be the end of this month, the 4th issue of the Journal of Preparedness in Canada is there. As well, halfway down our main page, you'll see the Roadmap to Resilience, which is a YouTube video series, a Substack article series, and a podcast series that talks about the 5 steps in the roadmap for you to become resilient, to go on that road. So if you don't know what to do and you're looking for absolutely free information, we've got it in several areas, right? We believe that the provision of free preparedness information is our community service, our ability, our desire to create a better world. So thanks again for joining us. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.